The Brothers Karamazov, Book 9, Chapter 3. So what is going on here, I think, is that Dostoevsky is going to redeem the character of Dmitri, and the way you would redeem people in the stories of a religious saint would have the saint's soul go from death to paradise, and on the way from death to paradise go through a number of ordeals, often with a 40-day period going through a number of ordeals. And in Russian Orthodoxies, there was a 3-stage ordeal that the soul went through between death and paradise. And so Dostoevsky kind of takes that theme and puts it in a sort of a secular saint, which of course is a paradox, but a secular saint sort of way. Dmitri must be redeemed, and he's of course not dead, but this is sort of his death to his former self, so that he might go to the paradise of the redeemed self. So anyway, I think that that's fairly obvious, because this and the next 2 chapters are titled the first, second, and third ordeal. So these are the paces, these are the ordeals that Dmitri must go to in order to be redeemed. And I think another thing that's going on really in all of these chapters is the theme of the book, and that is between rationality and faith, rationality and truth. In our world, those things seem so synonymous that it's shocking to our ears to think about a distinction between rationality and truth. And yet I think that that is the major theme going on here, because Dmitri is willing, even excited at the beginning of this chapter when he figures out the difference. He has confessed to the murder of the old man, and of course in the last chapter the distinction was made. The police are talking about the old man being his father, and Dmitri is talking about the old man being Grigory. And so Dmitri is now excited because he knows that he did not kill his father, and so now when he hears that Grigory is alive, now he's excited, because now this will be really easy to clear up. He'll just talk about the facts. He'll just lay out his version of the story from start to finish, and then the truth will set him free. And that is the truth. That is really what happened. Dmitri is really, spoiler alert, Dmitri is really, truly, indeed, in reality, in real time, he is really, truly innocent of one thing, of the murder of his father. He really didn't do it. And told from his perspective, it is true. And yet the ensuing chapters for the rest of this book will give us not Dmitri's perspective, but the perspective of reason and rationality, and sort of a Western mindset, a Western approach to truth, a Western approach to fact-finding. And so just keep your eyes and ears open in these chapters for the rest of this book, that the investigators are approaching truth in such a way that even the way they ask the questions, even the way they think about it, there can only be their interpretation of events, their rational interpretation of events can be placed upon it. And so some of those events are explicitly stated, the difference between the way Dmitri experienced those events and the different way that the prosecutors interpreted those events. And so Dmitri denies murdering his father, and then Grushenka runs in and says that it's her fault. Another major theme in this novel, that yes, there are pawns in the game, there are people who actually pull the trigger, but there are people who are morally culpable besides just the actual trigger man or trigger woman. There are people whose ideas lead more weak-minded people to actually commit crimes. And so the philosophies, the worldviews, the ideas behind the crime have a culpability too. That's a theme that has a good and a negative side in this novel. Zosima's ideas, what kind of life do those lead to, and Ivan's ideas, what kind of life does that lead to. And so Grushenka now is a convert to Zosima's worldview, and she's saying, it's my fault. I played with both Fyodor and Dmitri's emotion. Fyodor, I was mean. I was cruel. I was having a laugh. I was having a joke with him, and so it's my fault. I tormented Dmitri in such a way that this is my fault. So Grushenka believes what Dostoevsky is saying, that the person's worldview makes them culpable for the actions of other people. Of course, that's one of Zosima's key tenets, is that we're all responsible for the actions of another. And so, in short, in this chapter, Dmitri says, yes, I confess to having the motive. I confess to having the hatred. I confess that I even wanted to. I would have. I did everything but. I am guilty of everything but actually murdering my father.